Welcome to Daily Focus. I am so glad to have another day to serve the Lord. It's a little bit dreary here in Michigan today, but it's supposed to get nice and then stay nice for a number of days in a row. And so we're looking forward to some really comfortable weather. And so I hope that you get a chance to enjoy it a little bit. We are in Psalm 44, and verse number 10 says, Thou makest us to turn back from the enemy, and they which hate us spoil for themselves. Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for meat, and hast scattered us among the heathen. Thou sellest thy people for naught, and dost not increase thy wealth by their price. In other words, David is saying, we are being oppressed, we are being afflicted, we are in suffering, and it just seems like the heathen are getting what they want with no real price tag. It looks like the liberal agenda is advancing forward and nobody's running a roadblock. It seems like our freedoms are being taken away one at a time and nobody's doing anything about it. That's kind of the mindset, is that David is saying, this is going on and it just isn't costing the heathen at all to advance. It doesn't seem like it is costing them, that they're just having a heyday. That phrase, does not increase thy wealth by their price. That phrase is really meaning, it gives us the idea that it is just nothing to you. It's like selling something. You don't care what you get for it because you're just wanting to get rid of it. And so that's kind of what that phrase is talking about, is that, God, it feels like that these people are getting incredible deals for everything that they want. Every passion of their heart, they just pursue it and you give it to them for pennies on the dollar type of thing. That's kind of the mindset. Thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors, and a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. In other words, they're just saying, wow, this is just so easy. These people are nothing. I mean, they treat them like a byword, like they're nothing. I can't help but believe that the way Christians have rolled over in the past years, maybe decades, to the liberal agenda. We're fighting battles today because Christians refused to stand up decades ago. We didn't stand up to evolution. We didn't stand up to homosexuality. We didn't stand up to gender identity. We've not fought the heathen in their leftist agenda that are promoting something that is contrary to God's design and is absolutely anti-God. And we just shake our heads going, well, the times are bad. Well, they shake their heads going, wow, this is easier than I thought it would be. Wow, these Christians are nothing. If you put a little pressure on them, they just cave. If you want them to simply go along to get along, all you got to do is put a little pressure on them, maybe threaten them that it's going to cost them something, and you can just take it from them. And that's the picture David is talking about. Christians, you need to get a backbone. You've got to stand on principle. And even if it costs you, you have to know that it's worth it to stand on principle. Just becoming a pragmatist in order to get along and function in life causes the heathen to just shake their head and say, wow, they don't have any backbone. They don't have any convictions. All you got to do is put a little pressure on them and they will cave. That is the picture that is going on. Verse 17, he says, all this has come upon us, yet have we not forsaken thee, neither have we dealt falsely in thy covenant. Our heart is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from thy way. Thou hast though thou hast sore broken us in the place of dragons and covered us with the shadow of death. He's talking about satanic oppression. He's talking about anti-God agenda. And he is likening it to dragons. He's really making a reference here to the devil and Satan's ploy as God of this world and the suffering that comes on Christians, even ultimately death or martyrdom that came onto Christians in this day. And yet David is saying our heart is the same. Our actions do not show where our heart really is. And that's the definition of a hypocrite, when your actions don't match your convictions or your actions don't match your mouth. And so that is the very core foundation of this text. He says in verse 20, if we have forgotten the name of our God or stretched out our hands to a strange God, shall not God search this out? For he knoweth the secrets of the heart. He is admitting, you know what? If we have just decided that standing for truth isn't worth it, if standing up for righteousness costs too much, and we're willing to bow ourselves to the agenda that is around us, no matter how humanistic it is, no matter how pagan it is, if we do that, isn't God, no, it doesn't, isn't he able to search our hearts and really know the truth? Regardless of what we're telling him in prayer, regardless of what we're telling him in church, he's looking at us going, no, I know whether or not you're caving to the world, if you have become secular humanistic in your thinking. And that's what David is admitting. You know this, God. And he says in verse 22, yea, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Awake, why sleepest thou, O Lord? Arise, cast us not off forever. Wherefore hidest thou thy face and forgettest our affliction and our oppression? For our soul is bowed down to the dust, our belly cleaveth unto the earth. Arise for our help and redeem us for thy mercy's sake. David is saying, you know what? There's nothing more egregious than a hypocrite. He really is likening it to even murder. He's like, you know, even murder is appalling, but so is hypocrisy. As appalling and offensive murder would be for people. In other words, if somebody killed one of my loved ones, that would really spark a response by me. The same thing, if we are being hypocritical before God, it sparks a response of God. It's just as offensive. And yet we don't see it that way. We don't want these things that affect me negative, but I actually will play along to get along, as long as, the only person that's offended by that is God. And so David is saying, Lord, help us to not be hypocritical. No matter how difficult it is, give us a backbone, give us a spine, and help us to stand. For we need you. No matter how hard life is, we need you. And so he says, arise for our help and redeem us for thy mercy's sake. God, help us to be true to you no matter the cost. I think as things continue to spiral in our country, as things continue to become more and more anti-God in its spectrum, I do believe that true Christians are finding the importance of standing, of being salt and light, being a contrast. And those that have no backbone are willing to just go along to get along. And God is in this mode right now of really separating those who are true to God, serious about God, and those who are just using God as a crutch to live their own life and justify their own agenda. And so my admonition to us is simply in my title: don't be a hypocrite. Be legitimate. Show God that you love him, that you're thankful to be his child, and that you are serious about impacting the world as salt and light with the gospel and the truth of God's word. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. I hope you have a great day.